Welcome to the Carl Jackson podcast. I am excited and delighted that you guys are watching us on CJC Television Network across the world and on Local Now. Local Now is our new partner and platform that carries the CJC Television Network. And so I want to say a special shout out to them, also to DistroTV. And I want to say a special shout out to SelectTV because they have really been supporting this as well. And all of our partners across the world, just want to say thank you for supporting the CJC Network and the Carl Jackson podcast. Also, if you're listening on Spotify and Apple iTunes, you can also watch this particular episode on YouTube. So if you don't get the CJC Network, which I don't see why you couldn't get CJC Network, but if you can't get it for some reason in your area, which you should be able to do, as I keep stating, you can also watch it on YouTube, and then that just might just be a little bit more convenient for you to watch it whenever you want to watch these older episodes. Today I have a special guest on the podcast, and I wanted to have her on. I normally don't do podcasts like this one because I don't like to think about negative things or sad things. But when this was pitched to me by a publicist friend of mine, I couldn't help but to have this guest on the show because her story was just mind-blowing. And it really brought me to tears when I really heard the full story that you're going to hear today on the podcast. What I want to do is just introduce to you my guest. Her name is Elizabeth Gerald, and she has a story to tell. She has a nonprofit organization that she's a part of that she works with. I'm not sure if she's over it, but she's going to get into that later. But would you welcome to the podcast, Miss Elizabeth Gerald? How you doing?
Hello. Thank you for having me on your show, Carl. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And sorry about the time difference earlier today. We almost didn't make this recording.
You know what? Like I was saying earlier, I talked to my aunt, so the time zones is just different.
Right. Exactly. So your story was just so like I can't even tell you how much pain I felt just in hearing your story when it was pitched to me. The main thing I think that really got me was, and you're going to tell the story in a few seconds, but the thing I think that got me the most was, I guess the monster and what he said. And it just made me realize how much it means for me to be a great father to my daughter. She's 7 years old, and anytime I feel stress or pain, not pain, never pain, but anytime I feel stress from being a parent, these stories like this motivates me to make sure I'm doing everything I can to be the father figure that she needs, because
right.
Us men, all the men that are watching, I just want to say, if you are not being active in your sons' lives, this is what happens. This can happen.
Right.
Not just from the girl's perspective, your daughter who's now deceased, but also from the boy's perspective, who's the monster. He has parents. He had parents. And so I felt more responsible from that perspective. I felt like I'm just as guilty as the parents that had this crazy nut job of a son that did it.
I tell you about the family too. They were all, the father, after the trial, I ended up finding out that his father was a predator. His brother was in jail. The sister, lost her kids to DCFS because she had them performing oral sex. So the whole family was just messed up. Yeah.
So tell your story. Start from the beginning. Tell us, first of all, what type of daughter was your daughter like? And tell us what happened.
Well, before the assault, she was an honor roll student, a good kid. She was a silly, teenage girl. She liked to read, she liked to draw. We would feed homeless veterans. She was in Job's Daughter and Rainbow Girls. She did would go hang out with her friends. They go to the park, sometimes the movies. You know, the regular little teenage girl. Um, she was into she had became a state finalist with the beauty pageants. Um, you know, she wasn't in any games. She wasn't out fast. She wasn't walking around with long weaves, makeup, or nothing. She was just an average teenage girl who liked to do things, you know, little girls do, play. And you know, she stuck up under me. When you seen me, you seen her. You know, when I go grocery shopping, she was with me. Go, you know, bank, she'd go with me. You know, just a regular, you know, kid.
Right. And so this particular incident happened at school, or was it at, where
It
did
was
this happen?
it happened. It wasn't at school. She had left. I guess I don't know when, but he had somehow along the line he had started spotting her and spotted her, and what he did is I'm unclear how many days, but I guess he stalked her until he caught her by herself. And then when he caught her by herself, he visually beat her and he sexually assaulted her. And the rape was so bad to her. You know, they said her ovaries and uterus was inflamed to the point where she couldn't even walk. They gave her tremolols for the pain and swelling, and it was a lot. The police department had referred me to Larabita, and Larabita didn't have any beds at the time, so they referred me to the YWCA. The YWCA had older women, so she didn't like it. There was nobody their age, so they referred us to the Laney Foundation, which is where we ended up, and she loved the Laney Foundation. Dr. Summer Matheson was a great doctor. I refer her to anybody. So in the beginning, they would come to my house, and what essentially ended up happening, my daughter became severely depressed, PTSD, so they did homeschool. She recommended that they do homeschool. She was just afraid to want to leave the house. So we did the homeschooling until they found her a therapeutic school to go to. And the therapeutic school was in Naperville, which is a very, you know, affluent neighborhood. And so she still had to keep her grades up. She still had to be on honor roll. But, you know, she was there and she was able to get what she needed. And she started, she managed to get back on the honor roll and get her grades back up. And what essentially happened was, you know, the Flossmoor Police Department, they got this jerk right away. And the thing is, he never denied it. He told the truth. Everything he did, he told her, he admitted to it, but he thought it was funny. And, you know, even when we would go to court, he would just be laughing and looking at us, you know, winking and waving. And what the heck is wrong with him?
Right.
And they would say, well, he's MR. And I'm like, well, what is MR? Mentally retarded. He's slow. He's this, that, and the other. I'm like, yeah, right. He know what he's doing.
Exactly.
He's been in jail before, so he know what he's doing. So it got to the point, it was antagonizing my daughter for him to keep laughing and stuff. So we took a plea deal for 10 years and a life parole. They said that they know he's not going to register when he gets out, never do. So if you know he's not going to register, you know, why even let him out? He likes little girls and little boys. So it's not just a girl thing. So it's just anybody he can get. This dude is 300 pounds. And if I'd have had, you know, your social media, I would actually sent you his picture. It's the 300-pound dude, and my daughter's 100 pounds, and kids can't fight him off.
So this was a grown man.
Grown man who had just gotten out of prison. He wasn't even supposed to be in Flossmoor. He was supposed to register at a halfway house in Chicago, but he never did. And they said, I guess the parole officer, I'm assuming, had too many parolees, or you know, whatever it is they call parolees, and they didn't realize that he had went under the radar because they hadn't even realized that he didn't register. And the house he was supposed to register at never said nothing. I don't know if they knew. I don't know if he just got let out and they just like, hey, go, whatever. I'm not sure, but he went under the radar. They wasn't looking for him nothing at the time, but he was, you know, they said he was supposed to actually had been registered at a halfway house in Chicago.
And this all happened in Chicago?
Yeah, well, in Flossmoor.
Okay.
I live in the suburbs. I don't live in the city of Chicago, but, you know, he wasn't supposed to be out there. So you know,
So what ultimately happened to the guy? Did he go back to prison?
yeah, we took the plea deal for 10 years and like parole. And like I said, when a
Life
judge had,
on parole, but 10 years?
Mhm.
So he will be able to get out.
Yeah, he'll get out after his 10 years, and then he got life parole. And they said that they know he'll be right back in there because they know he's not going to register. So I
Right.
don't, which is crazy. Um, but after the judge asked you have anything to speak, when I asked him did he have anything to speak, he just kept laughing, and he ended up telling my daughter, if you wasn't so beautiful, I wouldn't have been attracted to you. So you have nobody to blame but yourself for what I did, because I could not help myself. And he did that, and she was already suffering from PTSD and depression and all that from the trauma. And, like I said, it was so bad she couldn't walk. And it would be times she would just sit in a tub and just scrub herself raw. She stopped wanting to get her hair did. She stopped wanting to, get her nails did. She stopped, she started wearing like big black joggings or dark blue joggings, was dark green, anything that was dark. She didn't want to look pretty anymore. So when he told her that just really just made it worse. And um,
Take your
she
time.
she subsequently took the bottle of Tramadol that was prescribed to her. And the day that happened, it was I was just so upset and stuff. I was doing laundry and I was like up and down the stairs, and I would ask her, "Are you hungry? Um, do you need anything?" And she kept saying no. And then about 10, she had asked me, 10 or 11, she asked me to run her some bath water. And she wanted lavender oil, and I believe it was chamomile, if I'm not mistaken, two different types of oils in it. So I made her bath, and I said, "Do you need anything else?" And so uh, she was in the tub, and I kept asking, "Hey, are you okay in there?" And she would say, "Yeah, Mom, I'm okay." And I finished doing laundry. Then I laid down maybe a little after 11. I laid down because I was tired. So she came downstairs maybe a little after 12 midnight and said, "I love you, Mommy." And I said, "I love you too, baby." And there was nothing different because when I tell my kids I love them all the time, they tell me the same thing.
Right.
She said, "Can I lay down with you?" And I said, "Yeah." So she laid down with me, and she was on me, and I was holding her. And then we went to sleep. And at 6 a.m. when I woke up, I had to get up to go do what I had to do. I said, "Marcy, wake up," and nothing happened. And I said again, "Marcy, wake up," and still nothing. So I said, "Marcy," and I set her up over me, and I jumped up and I'm screaming, "Marcy, wake up." And I couldn't do nothing. And I am visually impaired, so I couldn't really see her face. My vision is like -17. So I ran to the stairs and screamed for my son to come down. And he says, "What's wrong, Mom?" I said, "I don't know. I can't wake Marcy up." So he ran down the stairs, looked over the banister, and said, "Mom, call 911." And I called 911, and I said, "There's something wrong with my daughter. I can't wake her up." And they were there. I mean, just like that. Uh, Keith laid her on the floor. He was the chief of police at the time. He laid her on the floor, and he started CPR. I ran the bathroom, brushed my teeth, and washed my face real quick. I came back. I hear the paramedics saying we gotta rush her to the hospital. So I threw on my house shoes and ran out behind them. And my son came to us and said, "Mama, what happened? What's wrong?" I said, "I don't know." Um, I got in the front. They was trying to get. I was trying to get back with her, and they said, "No, you gotta ride in the front, Gerald." I rode in the front, and they got us to the hospital. Dr. Moore, and it was some nurses out there standing upset, waiting, and they took her, and I was trying to run behind them, and I almost fell. So the nurse grabbed me and said, "Come on, we're gonna take you into the emergency room." So she, took me on in and ran me, and sat me down by the emergency room doors, while they were working on her, and the nurse came back a few minutes later and said, "The doctor wants you to start calling your family members." And I said, "Well, I don't have my phone. I don't have anything. This is, like I said, this is happening all at 6 o'clock in the morning." And she says, "Just give me the numbers." And I gave her my sister's number, and I gave her my niece's numbers, and I said, "Call them." So she called, and she said, "Your family members are on their way." And my sister had started calling other people, so they were all on their way up to the hospital. And I said again to the nurse, "Well, what's wrong with my daughter? Is she sick? Is she in a coma? What's going on? Does she need surgery?" And so she said, "Well, let me go see what the doctor is saying." And So I said, okay. So then a few minutes later, her, the doctor, and the third person came and saying, come, Ms. Joe, we have to, talk to you. So, I'm still asking what's going on with my daughter, what's going on with Marcy. They take me into this little small room. And, at that time, the doctor said, I need you to have a seat. So I sat down and I said, what's wrong with Marcy? And then the third person told me he was a chaplain. And none of this is dawning on me that it's a chaplain here.
Right.
We're in a small room. And
it's not registering that what's really going on here. Right.
No, it wasn't. And I studied saying, what's wrong with Marcy? What's going on? And he said, this is the worst part of my job. And I said, please just tell me what happened. He said, she expired and there was nothing else they could do. And I asked, could I see her? And they said, yeah, they could see her. So the nurse said, let us clean her up first. And I said, okay. So she came and got me and took me back there. And they said I couldn't touch her because of the, she had to have a full autopsy to see what had happened. Because, I was, what the heck happened? They said we could stay there. They told me I could stay into the corners got there. I said, okay. So I just stood there looking like, it's like I was in a twilight zone, like this just cannot be real.
It didn't feel real.
It just did not feel real. It's like I was literally in a twilight zone. Even though she was laying right there, I don't know, it was not hitting me. And my sister came and they just tried to compose herself. My niece walked out and she was just crying and stuff. And the coroner man got there, I think within 25 minutes, and they said that's never happened. He always takes 3 or 4 or 5 hours. And they had to step out the room and he pushed the cart in there and it had like a maroonish color bag or something on it. I don't know. I was standing right there and I seen him go open this book thing and he wrote some numbers down. Then he put this thing on my daughter's toe. I'm like, what is that? And they were the same identification or something. I don't know.
And it still hadn't hit you.
It still wasn't hitting me. And I'm like,
wow.
I see him putting the thing on her toe and I guess it was a toe tag or something. I'm not sure. But then when he pushed his cart next to the bed, he unzipped his bag. I'm like, well, what's he going to do with that? And I seen him pulling her over. I said, no, don't put her. I ran in there trying to get him to stop him from putting her in there. They grabbed me and turned me around. And by the time I was able to get loose and turn back around, he was already gone. So by the time I got home, they had already let my neighbors know what had happened. So they had already started bringing like fruit and food and like breakfast stuff and just dropping stuff off and like, what can we do? And it still wasn't dawning on me that this had just happened. And my sister said, well, we're going to have to go to the funeral home and start planning her funeral. And it's just like, I can't go to the funeral home. She's coming back. And it just did not seem real. And then my sister, around 9, she's like, you got to go to the funeral home, Lizzie. And I'm like, funeral home for what? It just, we went there and my sister and my niece and them, her favorite color was pink. So they helped me pick out a pink casket. And all her stuff we got was pink. And one of my nieces, just bought her a little pink outfit to wear for a funeral and stuff because I just couldn't even do it no more. And the day before the funeral home contacted and asked us to come look for the viewing to make sure. And seeing her in that casket, I think I just about passed out because it's starting to really hit me now that this is happening. And it just, like, are you serious? And even with the funeral home, we had to get her a leotard because it was summertime and they had to, they said that we still had to get her something dark to wear under her shirt because her shirt was like a tear. Because I guess you could see where they cut the autopsy and they said, well, Miss George, this is not the child you remember. We have to get a leotard, something dark to cover up her arms and her body and stuff. And it was a lot.
So let me ask you this. Ultimately, what did you guys find out the night before? She kind of knew she was going to do this. And so her last moment was she wanted to be in your arms, right?
Right. She took she took the bottle of Tramadol the hospital gave her. And after she took the bottle of Tramadol, she just came downstairs and went to sleep and never woke up. And, when I think back, my neighbor.
And she laid in your arms, right?
Her arms. She came,
she had already taken it.
Yeah.
Okay. She had already taken it. She comes to your bed. She lays down.
She gave me a hug and
And
said, "I love you, mommy." And that was her last words to me is, "I love you, mommy." And she laid on me and went to sleep, and we just never woke up again. And she never woke up again. And my neighborhood gave her a miniature pinscher, and the dog. When my daughter peed on me, I thought the dog had peed on me, and I didn't realize it was her till the next day.
wow.
It's crazy. When I had her and they cut the umbilical cord and they laid her on my chest, she peed on me. And when she took her last breath for her transition, she laid on me, she peed on me. So she kind of
Oh, wow.
went out the same way. I wouldn't wish this for nobody, though. I really wouldn't.
So tell me a little bit about how did you feel as a mom? Her father, do you know, can I ask about him?
Yeah, he's deceased now. He passed away because I have a stepson. My stepson was murdered. Then my husband, which is their dad, he died, and then my daughter committed suicide. So
So
he was
was your husband around when this happened?
no, he died in 2010. This happened
Okay.
the rape happened in 2014, and this happened.
But she remembered her father.
She
They
knew
were
who
pretty close.
He was always using a life. Yeah.
Wow. So that was a double thing for her. She felt double pain as she went through, I guess, her rape situation. It just not having that male figure there also probably had a lot to do with it.
Right. It could have been. Yeah.
So how do you feel? What has inspired you? Talk a little bit about the foundation. What has inspired you to keep going and to help other victims of suicide?
What ended essentially happened after my daughter died, people said to me, "Well, Black people don't kill themselves." And, and then they got to the point when with the rape, they were like, "Well, what was she wearing? Was she fast? Was she this? Was she
Right.
that?" In
They're
our
trying to
community,
blame her, victim shame her.
and that's one of the things that's in our community. Every time something goes wrong, it's everybody's fault but the person who does it. So
Exactly.
the victims always get blamed. No matter what it is, the moms, the victims, whoever it is. So when they started saying, "Well, Black people don't kill themselves," and this, that, and the other, I decided to do my own research. And suicide and mental health is very high in our community. We just don't talk about it. We see it on the road, just like rape is very high in our community. Domestic violence is high, and these are things we just don't talk about. It's just we
Right.
under the rug, like, hey, these are taboos and stigmas, and so many people get away with doing these crimes to women. Like, there's so many men who beat on women and don't go to jail. So many rapists walking around and all this stuff, and nobody does anything. So you have all these women walking around with all this internal pain because we don't know what they didn't been through. A lot of women of color and men, I'm not going to say women because a lot of our boys go through stuff too, but they don't say that because it emasculates them. It makes them feel like, "Oh, I'm a boss was been able to protect myself." Boys can't get raped or stuff, but they can.
Oh yeah, but I would say there are probably more boys or just as many boys as
It
girls
is.
that are being raped by other men.
Yes, it is.
By other
It
men.
sure is. Yeah. So what I essentially did was decided to start, being an advocate for domestic violence, suicide, mental health, and sexual assault. And when I first started, I figured it wasn't going to go nowhere because, we don't care about anything in this community. Nobody cares about these things. But what essentially happened is I started having victims reach out to me and tell me their stories about how back in the day, it would be what goes on in my house stays on. So they never got no justice. Then it would be, a lot of women now don't the shame, the stigma, the taboos. They don't want to go to court. They don't want to face the accusers. So a lot of people don't say nothing now that are being attacked. So, I figured I'd be a voice for them. And then, with women going through domestic violence, they started reaching out, "Hey, my daughter's been through this, my husband, my boyfriend, what do I do?" And then even families with suicide is that they started reaching out, "I lost a child or I lost a husband, I lost this person to suicide, but I was too embarrassed." A lot of people would say they lost their friend or relative to medical conditions. They might say cancer or something versus a suicide because of the shame.
Right.
And then, so more and more people started opening up, telling me their stories. And so that really is what gave me the drive to feel like, hey, this is a need in our community. And it got to the point where I started having, like, I know mothers who've lost to gun violence. I know mothers who've lost to the police shootings. We all need something. And, I talk about kindness and unity and us coming together as a whole culture and a whole race and just, getting a sistership amongst the women and a brothership against the men and just coming together. And we knock each other down, we pull each other down, but we don't lift each other up like we do. Now, for social media, I notice a lot of times when people do something, they'll do something and post it on Facebook. That's not genuine. When you do something, lift the kindness of your heart, not for licks and clicks and to go viral. Just do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And we got to come together. We got to start doing better and, using each other and just, we're never going to be able to get out this hump we're in until we do better.
Talk a little bit about the MJG movement.
The MJG movement, what we do is, that's a non-for-profit, and each person and each client that we work with is different. We have some people that may need us to help them go to court or go to the police department and report it and get restraining orders. Some people may need help with housing to get out of a situation. Some people may just need food. Some people may need resources to find doctors to talk to if they're going through, like, having a mental break, or they may need a psychologist, a therapist, or a psychiatrist to talk to. So we help in with each person differently. Whatever that person needs is what we do for that person. And I don't, like I said, blast them. Whatever that person reaches out, said they need help, is what I do. And with Marcy's Marvels, that's the LLC, we've come up with a line of cosmetics, herbal teas, comic books, coloring books.
And you're building a safe house, right?
We're building a safe house too. Hopefully at the end of this year, it'll be done. And with the safe house, we'll have, some of the clients come in, they'll stay there. We'll help them find housing. So once they do leave, they'll have somewhere to go. Help them get income. So, like, we'll have people come in and teach them traits like plumbing and electrical, or welding, stuff like that. We'll have people come in from medical, right? People from the medical field come in and teach them about nursings and, X-ray technicians, whatever, different things. The celebrities, and have them come in and teach them about acting and singing and what kind of classes they need for that. And, whatever that person, even people that come in and teach them how to be a barber, beautician, cut hair, whatever. We will have different people come in and teach, have people come and teach how to flip houses, how to get into real estate, how to invest. So, I plan on doing as much as I can to help, because you have to have a certain mindset. You have to have, that want to help yourself. If you don't want to help yourself, I can't help you.
Right.
It starts and ends with you, but I'll do my best to try to help these families. And once they leave, they'll have money, they'll save up, they'll be able to get their own place, try to get them something that's probably affordable. If we can, get them something that's in their,
price
their budget and stuff,
Right.
and try to have them with some kind of job or something. So that's what our goals is.
Awesome. So what, I wanted to talk a little bit about the comic book. There's a comic book you have? So talk me a little bit about that.
The comic book, let me get it. It's a Marcy's Marvels comic book. It's
oh wow,
a Black girl superhero resilience comic book. Comic books and coloring books are therapeutic. So
yes,
we came up with these line of books for little Black and brown girls to relate to. So, and it's just to help show them, because what was told to me by a lot of victims is that they don't have a superhero. We don't have this. And I had a person who is a victim. She actually drew me a painting, and it's my daughter, and she has the little mask with the cape on and stuff, and said, and she's their superhero, and not because she took her life, but because they know what she went through, and for her to be strong enough to go to court and they just look at that, and the thing is, they said, we don't have that. We have Wonder Woman and Batgirl, but we don't have nothing too much for little Black girls.
Right.
So that's what that's about, trying to help them.
Wow. So as we wrap this up, what is the movement next steps? What are your steps for the movement, and how can people get in touch with you to help or donate or support your cause? I mean, I'm definitely wanting all of you guys that are watching and listening to do what you can to help support the movement. But tell us what's next in the movement and how people can get in touch with you.
Well, we're working on a documentary, and we're going to be working on turning this comic book into a Black girl resilience. Maybe I guess like a movie or something along the lines. We are going to be opening up the Safe House, hopefully at the end of this year, and nothing but greatness and goodness. And we're going to help as many people as we can and just be the voice for the voiceless.
And how can people get in touch with you?
My name is Elizabeth Gerald, which is Gerald on Facebook. So it'll be Elizabeth Gerald TF for Teen Family on Facebook. And it's the picture of my daughter, the comic book picture. And then on MJG Movement, I have an MJG Movement page on Facebook, an MJG Movement on IG, and MJG Movement on Twitter.
So just MJG Movement? Yeah.
So they can also Google Marcie Gerald, which is MARCIE. Gerald, and sometimes my stuff will come up with that too, and a lot of her articles will come up.
Yeah, because you've done a ton of articles, and you just spoke at suicide prevention, I think, recently.
Yeah. Yep, it was the Indian Medical Association. They had me on their panel, and I was on a panel with Indian doctors, and we're talking about the heads of the hospitals and stuff. So wow. I was honored to have them have me on their panel.
So final question. So what do you think, what can Black people, or people in general, not just Black, but what can people do specifically, African Americans, what can we do to help bring awareness and not shame and victim shame? Because it seems like a lot of Black people are trained to victim shame, as you said earlier. What did you wear? Or how did you do, right. What did you do to make this happen? Blah, 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 blah. What can we do as a people to stop that? What should we be doing to help make it better for victims in this situation?
Just to learn to be kindness and show respect and everything, because COVID brought out a lot of mental health. And what I've noticed is that since COVID, you have Beyonce and Jay-Z now talking about mental health. I think, what's his name, Lil Wayne, he just talked about how he shot himself and mental health. You have Oprah with the Duchess and the King, Prince Harry, they're talking about it. Almost every big celebrity is talking about their, either they've been raped or they've attempted suicide. So they're coming out more and more now. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's really nothing to be embarrassed of, because depression and PTSD is just, everybody goes through something. Everybody. I mean, you can lose your job and be sad. A friend or a relative, anything can happen that can make you sad. You can be in a car accident, and that doesn't mean you're just some kind of nut job going off your bonkers. It just means you're human. So show kindness and love. Stop saying stuff like, who kills themselves? You're crazy. And the thing is, the people who have the loudest voices, who are always talking about who kills themselves or I love myself, usually be the ones that suffer the most depression. And
absolutely.
Because if you have to be screaming that you love yourself, you don't have to go around broadcasting that. Or if you have to go around, well, I'm just too wonderful to do this, that, or the other, it's usually because you have those thoughts and just too embarrassed and ashamed to talk about them. So there's nothing to be ashamed of. You can always reach out to me on any of my social medias. And I will gladly get back to you.
Awesome. And that's MJG Movement on all social media platforms, right? Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
And my personal name is Elizabeth Gerald TF.
Sorry about that. So thank you so much for doing the show, and I appreciate you telling your story. And I'm just thankful that people like yourself are out there rallying for people who don't have a voice. And I think this is going to be a great opportunity for you to help so many people across the world with your movement. And I hope that it's successful and it helps millions and millions of people.
Thank you.
Till next time, guys, be blessed. Thank you for watching the Colonel Jackson podcast and listening.